Thank you, Mrs. Mir. So now I give the floor to Madame Rosita Šorytė with refugee issues and the Church of Almighty God. The floor is yours.
Thank you. It's good afternoon. I was checking on the time, but it's time. It's good afternoon. My presentation was mostly destined for the member states. I'm touching the issues, the arguments to prove to the member states that the members of Almighty God, they have the right to be given asylum. But as we see, the many meetings around, and always is very difficult to attract the attention of the member states. And being a diplomat myself for 25 years, so I remember how difficult it is to attract the attention of the member states. But anyway, so my presentation is, I would call it nicely, to be or not to be, to give or not to give the right for asylum for the members of the Almighty God. And my presentation is exactly to prove that yes, these people, they have the right to get the asylum. Can I have the first slide, please? Of course, my switching from the governmental side to the NGO side, the context in general for the refugees is very bad, because we see, all of us, what is happening around the world, and the very heavy discourse that is taken in many countries, that refugees are bad and somehow they bring some tensions to our countries, and etc. So now to squeeze another level of the refugees is quite difficult to convince the member states that they should do something with the people who are persecuted. Next slide, please. So the first of all is the freedom of belief, because here is what is religion. That religion is normally the very broad understanding what is the religion. And I like always to talk about the freedom of belief. So it's whatever you believe, and you believe in certain expression of some religion, or you believe in that there is no God, you are atheist. Your freedom to express yourself and to believe in what you believe is your right. And the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is exactly something that is providing this guarantee, and member states, they should implement it. Can I have the next slide, please? So, and then if people, they don't have the right to really to express themselves freely, and in particular if there is a serious grounds of suspicion that people might be persecuted, so then, and they flee their country, so the states, where they ask for the help of protection, they should protect them. And for instance, in the case that we already heard the presentation of two presenters this morning, is exactly that they prove that there are the clear ground for the people to seek the asylum. Because first, they cannot freely express their religious beliefs. They are persecuted. We had the numerous cases of the people who really severely persecuted. So, and in this case, there is clear ground for them, if they flee their country, to seek for the asylum. So the question is how strong the persecution should be. But that's what normally the international documents, that's what they say. That if private practice of religion at home is allowed, but public worship or missionary activities are punished, UN and European guidelines still recognize the presence of the persecution. And we have a specific case in 2013, where the Court of Justice of the European Union took the decision about the Ahmadis. That if Ahmadis, they cannot really worship in the open their religion, so they should be given asylum. Next. Certainly, we understand that there is a big challenge for the member states to recognize, because it's you see every day on the news how many people they are fleeing in particular Europe lately or they try to get to other countries, and all of them, they claim that they have the right to be refugees. So for the member states, it's very important to really distinguish who is who, and if people, they have the right, so they should get the protection. So, and the fact is that some of the migrants who don't have the right for the asylum, and they are illegally immigrating into the countries, so they try sometimes to simulate their religious identity. So, for instance, they say that they arrived in the country being Muslim from a Muslim country, but then suddenly they decided to convert in a European country, and they say now they're Christian, and if they go home, they will be persecuted. So in these cases, so it's normal that they are not granted the asylum. It's because we don't know how sincere the conversion was, and etc. So you have this kind of things that the government, they should take in mind. And as you see, because there is a very, very important document, is the 2004 UNHCR guidelines, which very often they give the explanation for the member states, to guide the member states in the many different aspects of these very tricky issues. And these guidelines, they recognize the problem of what to do with the people who are converting in place. So, but they advise that every case should be examined individually for credibility, but without placing excessive burden on the asylum seeker. So, but in the case of the Church of Almighty God, they believe it's not even the relevant concern, because the people already they arrived, they left their country and they arrived to the host country. And they already they emigrate, or they leave their country because there is a clear persecution. Next slide. So, and as we saw from the previous presentations, in the case of the Church of Almighty God, it's already it's in the law. So it's not, you don't need really look very far away, trying to find the proofs if these people are persecuted. If you have the law, as Professor Introvini mentioned, if you have the list and the Church of Almighty God is clearly cited in the list as one of the most dangerous, evil cults perceived by the Chinese government, so there is a clear ground that these people, they are persecuted. So meaning that we don't need much more, to have much more proofs for that. Next slide, please. So but the reality is that the situation of the members of the Church of Almighty God trying to get the asylum in many countries is very difficult. So it's only in few countries that they are more or less easily or on time given the right to stay. It's US and it's Canada. So they struggle very much in many European countries. So some countries, they are easy, and you see by the pattern in other cases also that for instance the country like Sweden, so they are more understandable. So because they know all the tricky aspects of the situation of people who seek the refugee status. But let's say the country like Italy or France, it's very difficult. So it's out of in Italy, out of 600 people who applied for asylum, just few people they were given, right? In France, again, is like out of some 100 people, just few people they received the status. So the rest, and that is the very dangerous part, the rest they risk, because when you are refused the asylum, so then you should go home. And going home, it means that you most probably you will be taken into custody, and nobody knows what will happen to these people. And that is in particular a difficult situation, because there are quite serious grounds for the suspicion that people might be tortured, and that is very dangerous. And if we read the international documents, such as the International Refugee Law or Humanitarian Law, so you have the principle of non-refoulement. So when a country really refuses or even deports people, they should be very, very sure that these people will not be persecuted or tortured. And in the case of the members of Almighty God, of the Church of Almighty God, it's clearly there is a risk that they might be, and we have even the facts, because even myself, I met people who were later, they were deported, for instance, in Korea and in South Korea. So, and we don't know what happened to these people. So, and that it's a very dangerous breach of international law. Next slide. And now we're just coming back because the most difficult country so far for the refugees of the Church of Almighty God is the South Korea, because so far nobody got the protection, and not only they got the protection, but they had I should say that myself, I cannot be very sure if they were deported or people they just left because they received the order to leave. Because sometimes you receive the order to leave, but you stay. But some people in South Korea, they were forced to leave and they left. And as I mentioned, so nobody knows what really happened to them. We don't have the news anymore. So now I'm coming a little bit like to the conclusion that, as you see, that there are many arguments proving that the members of the Church of Almighty God, they have the right to get the refugee status. Because there are 5 principles which are mentioned in the 2004 UNHCR guidelines given to the member states. And one of the guidelines is that all beliefs are protected, that beliefs about religion are eligible for protection. So if you are persecuted because of your beliefs, so you have the right to be protected. And as you saw from my arguments and the previous speaker's arguments, it's clearly that there is a ground for the serious concerns and need for protection. Next slide, please. So sometimes in the process for the judges or the commissions who take the decisions to grant or not to grant asylum, sometimes the argument is that they try to question people and to see if they are very skillful in knowing the finest elements of their religion. And the guidelines, they say that it's not necessary that individual believers prove that they are very fervent or particularly acknowledged in the religion. Being a member of the persecuted religion is enough. And there is even worse situation, that sometimes the interpretation of the religion that, for instance, the judges they have from the internet is something that is not entirely what the believers, how believers they see the certain aspects. So we will not go in theology because I'm not very good at that. But also is sometimes this confusion is the reason why the people were rejected, because somehow it's not believed that they are the members of this church, and that is also very dangerous. Next slide, please. So it's and the challenge is, as I already mentioned a few times, that the challenge is to prove that these people, they are not seeking, they are not economical migrants. And usually it's really they come with the means and etc. So they don't really flee their countries just because they need a better life, but they flee because they need the protection. So, and the next slide. So, and certainly when there are suspicions of persecution, so that is really a serious ground for the serious consideration of every single case. So, and the guidelines, they say that it's not necessary to prove that the asylum seeker has been personally persecuted. That is very important. But if the group is persecuted, it's already there is a ground for their protection. And the next one, the last one. So, and that is a very sensitive aspect, which was mentioned in the presentation of the Professor Lithuanian, is that when sometimes the persecutors, they cannot get to the members of certain groups or religions, so sometimes they just accuse them of the common crime. And we have many cases in Europe and around the world, and it's like if you cannot accuse, let's say, Scientology of other things, so you accuse them of not paying taxes in Russia, for instance. Or you accuse the Jehovah's Witnesses, they are extremist, somehow extremist group, which is very difficult to prove. So when you accuse that electricity is not working properly in Hungary for Scientology, and you cannot and Scientology cannot operate. So there are many cases, and specifically in the case of the Church of Almighty God, it was mentioned already, the case of the murder in McDonald's, but is very largely publicized the case, but nobody is really saying clearly that it was clearly established that people it was a different group who committed crime and not the specific group. But that is not somehow in the air, and the information that we get from the web, usually it makes you confused and you don't know what exactly it is. So I believe that it was convincing enough that there are not really, we don't really need more of elements to have for the member states to find the arguments to reject them, and instead of giving the refugee status. So, and it's very sad that so far, so people, they are struggling, and they live very uncertain life because they never know when the rejection might come, and what will happen to them. So it's because I interviewed many people from this group, and people, they live a horrible life because they don't know when they will be rejected, they will be accepted, they will be forced to leave, what will happen to them, what will happen to their families, and etc. So I believe that is the question that should be really known to the large public, and unfortunately that today the snow was not really very conductive, but we hope that slowly this issue will be more and more known. Thank you for your attention.